It's the rock and roll and coffee show. Yeah, with Joe.
Listen, a lot of people know you from the band Shoygun Messiah.
Yes.
I know you from the band Shoygun Messiah originally, and actually, I've been a fan. I still got my cassette. Found my cassette.
Wow.
My original
cool.
cassette. This was even. I might have even been before the clear cassettes. Remember the clear ones?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
yeah,
I think
this is an early one.
yeah, I think it actually, if I remember correct, came with a stencil. Did it?
That's correct. It did.
Yeah.
Both on the album, the cassette, and later on also the CD. Yes.
Yeah. I don't have the stencil anymore. I probably wore it out, stencil and things, but yeah. So I found that. So I've been a fan for a long time, and then recently, I don't know where I saw it, if it was social media or somewhere online, of course, but you have a new single out now.
That's correct. That's correct.
Tell me about the new single. It's called Heartbreak City.
Yeah, it's called Heartbreak City, and it's a song. Actually, it's a song written with my U.S. years in mind when I was living in California. So it's going back a little bit with memories and so on. And it came about due to the fact that I'm writing an autobiography right now, and while doing that, you know, you're still writing songs and so on. And I got this new band, and we go under my name, Zinny Zan. And so we were writing, and this came out really good. So we thought that, okay, let's have that. That's the first single for the coming album that's coming out in May.
Okay, and the album is called Lullabies for the Masses, correct?
Yeah, it's called Lullabies for the Masses, and it will be released May 20th. And what we did for a strategy said that up till then, let's have a single and a video out, one each month. So the January thing, the first one out here was Heartbreak City, and the next one is coming February 18th, and then so on, March and April and so on.
Okay. Do we know which one is it coming out in February?
In February, we're gonna do a cover song, to be honest.
Oh, okay. What can you say what it is?
I shouldn't step ahead things, but I think the people will get surprised due to the fact that the people that know me since before, like you and so on, you heard Shoygun Messiah, maybe other stuff that I've done with SoundCloud and so on. This cover with this particular band, I would say that you would never have thought that I would do anything with.
Wow. Okay. That's exciting. So that'll be interesting. So February. Okay. You know, listening to Heartbreak City, I really liked it. And it has a flavor of Shoygun Messiah a little bit, but I would say a little more modern sound. Shoygun Messiah with a modern twist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, I think you know, the stripes from the tiger, you know, doesn't really go away. So
right.
No matter what you do, you know, this is what I come back to all the time. I'm maybe not that. Let's say avant-gardistas like Tim Skull, for example, is doing other stuff. I like those kind of stuff as well, but when it comes to my own songwriting, I'm a regular rocker, and that's what I come from. So I can see what you're saying, and I do understand, because the riff and everything that it's very. I think the only thing that separates this from a Shoygun Messiah song is due to the fact that I'm not using my screaming voice. Other than that, I would say it's a little bit of an early Shoygun Messiah rocker. Yeah.
Now your voice sounds great on it, by the way.
Thank you.
Can you still get to those screaming levels?
Absolutely. But the thing was, I have no problem with it at all, to be honest, and I'm pretty surprised myself. but the only thing, the reason I would say, spoiler alert, but I don't use the screaming voice one time on the entire new album. And the reason for that is that there's always been this criticism, you know, they said, well, yeah, he's a screamer, he can't really sing, this and that. And for some reason, I'm 58 years old now, and I go like, okay, I'm going to prove them wrong. I can actually sing as well. I don't need to scream all the time, even if I thought it was really cool to do that, because I grew up with the Nazareth and with his voice, and also, of course, then the AC/DC, and then later on also the Axl Rose and so on and so forth. And I kind of like that thing, but when it comes to this criticism all the time, and plus, I wanted to show a different side of myself as well. It's not only screaming all the time. So this album is no screaming whatsoever, to be honest.
Okay, all right. Well, and you're putting it out as Zinny Zan, just your name. Okay, yeah. Who is in the band? Who do you have playing with you?
For the time being, it's the bass player, Helge Kalmroth, and then the guitar player and producer and songwriter together with myself. It's Stefan Bergström. Stefan and Helge used to be in a band called Skin Trade before.
Good band.
Yeah, really good band. And we got to know each other, and I admired their stuff before and so on, and we just came to work. I did some solo stuff and in my native language, in Swedish. That's what's another thing that I never got to do, And the older you get, you like, okay, what else can I do?
Sure.
Let's push it out so far. Where can I go? And for that solo thing that I did under my real name Stagman, which is my true name, then I used Stefan. And then we worked so well, and then we said that, okay, if you're ever going to do something beside the Swedish stuff again, Stefan asked me, he said that, let's do something in English again, and I would like to partnership with you. So what we've done is it's Stefan and I have wrote the entire album like a 50-50 thing.
Okay.
But today it says Stefan on guitar and Hage on bass, and right now we are in between drummers. We have used 3 different drummers on the album, but that's just because we are damn picky.
Oh yeah. Well, you used to be a drummer, right?
Yeah, I used to be a drummer. I started my musical career, so to speak, with as a drummer.
Yeah. How long were you playing drums?
I was playing drums for 5 or 6 years, and I went to drumming school for 4.5 years.
Oh,
so
okay.
I was pretty good at it, but it was I'm coming from a very musical family, and I'm probably the least talented in everyone in the family. I'm the one that got to play, and my mother always told me, because I wanted to be a guitar player from the beginning, since as you can hear, my voice has always been pretty fucked up. I had problems with my vocal cords since I was 11, 12.
Really?
And I know I have got down and burned stuff, and that's why I have this specific kind of voice that I have. So from the beginning, I wanted to be a guitar player. But my mom, she was so much into this old Gene Krupa, Buddy Rich drummers, and she said, "There's plenty of guitar players, but you remember that the heartbeat in a band and the heartbeat in the music, it's the drummer." So she really got me into drumming. So that's what I love do the drumming and everything like that. But the only reason why I came to start singing, even if I didn't have the opportunity with it to start with the throat, but it was due to the fact that I was writing songs, and no singer that we found could sing it the way I wanted it to be sung. To be honest, neither could I in the beginning, but it worked out after training. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, back to the album real quick. What now you released it on Wild Kingdom, right? Wild Kingdom Records.
Yeah. Wild Kingdom. That's correct.
Okay. And you had some other options to release it out on?
Yes. And what we did was, like we said, that let's do the whole album, and take 3 or 4 songs and send it out everywhere. And that's what we did to everyone and their dog, to be honest. And we had 3 other options, and 2 of them major labels.
Okay.
But when we spoke to them, and I do understand, I'm a kid, I'm a guy from the old block, and I understand it's not the 80s anymore and so on and so forth. But when I heard what they were willing to do and not to do, I understood that, okay, they're going to put it out there and say, okay, let's see what happens. And well, fine and dandy, but I wanted to work with someone that really understood it and loved the music the way I do. I know I will not sell by the truckloads, but still, there's music. You know, there's music there, and as long as people want to buy it, and you know, you can go out on tours and stuff like that. That's what I'm going to do. So when I sat down with Wild Kingdom at Sound Pollution, we were talking about it, and they say like, okay, you're going to be our priority number one. We're going to do this and this and this and this for you, and I, again, much rather go for an independent and a smaller company. And we did that the same thing with Shoygun Messiah. Shoygun Messiah had all the options in the world, but we went with Relativity Records. And though these guys weren't big when we had them, when we signed, that yes, they had Steve I, Joe Satriani, I think Christian Pelletieri was there as well, and so on. But they weren't like a major company or anything like that. And we turned down like Elektra and these guys as well, because Relativity Records back in those days with Shoygun Messiah also said, you're going to be priority number one. We take you over to the US and so on. And they did. So I kind of like to work with the underdogs, because I don't want to be priority number 35. They put it out and say, okay, let's see what happens. I want to work with someone and see that, okay, we're really going to try to do this. If we fail, we fail. But I'm very happy to work with, and I think they've done some really good work with other bands before. So,
did you consider putting it out on your own? I know that happens a lot these days.
Yeah, we did. We did consider that.
Yeah.
But after talking with Wild Kingdom, but the fact is, like, two of the guys in Wild Kingdom I known for years, and at least the last 15 years we have said, you know, doing dinners or having a beer, that let's do something together sometime. And sometime never happened. But now when they saw this, and I sent it out to them, I didn't call them or anything. I know them very well, so I just said, well, hey guys, listen to this. And they called me up and said, Zinny, now is the time. And I said, okay, let's hear what you got for me. And then we sat down, and then it was pretty much just me and Stefan. We said, well, let's go for it.
Okay. Well, good. I'm excited to hear it. And you said it comes out in May 20th, I believe.
May 20th. Yes, that's correct.
And it's going to be available on vinyl, I saw, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, vinyl and CD. So both things, yes. And vinyl again, because I don't know, but in the US, I do hope, but in Europe, it has a kind of a big revival with the vinyl thing again. Yeah,
I believe something I saw, vinyl is outselling CDs.
Yes, it is.
So that's good. That's good, because I mean, I'm from the, you know, way back, as you can tell with my cassette tape here. But I've been buying vinyl a lot too for the past few years, so I'm glad to see it's coming out on vinyl. So
so am I, and we thought that's an absolute, that we had to have that, otherwise it would be no deal. I'm old school like that, because I do know, and I remember when we started out with the CD thing, because Shoygun Messiah was right in the middle of that back in 89, 88. And the same, but I know Steve Stevens back in those days, from the guitar player from Billy Idol.
Sure.
He just hated the CD thing, and he said he wanted to have this piece of vinyl sitting there, listen to it, and, you know, hold it and feel it and so on. And I was the exact same way. We had the exact same feeling about that. Then of course CDs work, and CDs is absolutely good and fine and everything. But again, if you want to have that nice sound, and to be honest, vinyl is the one that sounds the best.
You think so? See, I can't tell the difference that much, really, but you're right about having it in front of you and holding that disc and the jackets and stuff. I think that's part of the reason why it's coming back, because I think the younger generation is realizing that is something that is, you know, it's great to have that physical object in their hand. Yeah,
it feels more valuable for some reason. I don't know. Maybe I'm old school. I don't know. But for me, I really listen to this, because it's very convenient with CDs and so on. The same with streaming. It's very convenient. You can do this and that, and, you know, have these playlists and so on. But then again, for the sound, to be honest, coming out of the studio, and you're sitting there in the studio doing this, and you get it on vinyl or you get it on CD, the CD does not take in the warmth of the. It's something missing there. So, well, good. I'm glad to hear that, and I'm very excited, like I said, to see that come out. So good. Now, when
is that going to be available on? Do you have a website for you?
No, they have no
Okay.
website for us.
Yeah, I
We
couldn't
have
find one.
no. We decided to just go with Facebook and Instagram for the time being, at least. And then you can have the album from via Wild Kingdom, or
Okay.
we will have these things up on Facebook and Instagram as well. It's easier on Facebook, obviously, to have this link where you can pre-order and so on. I think we have it out right now on Zinny Zan as well, on the Facebook thing. Otherwise, it's Sound Pollution and Wild Kingdom you can buy it from.
Okay.
But for right now, since we are kind of a newly start band, we said, let's skip the website and see, we'll see what this takes us.
Sure. Okay. Okay. Now let's go back a little bit to how we were talking about you playing drums. Now, you were briefly in a version of Hanoi Rocks, correct?
Yeah, it was
That's
not
interesting.
called Hanoi Rocks back in those
Right.
days. It was, I known Andy McCoy for years and years, and he used to live in Sweden. They're
Mhm.
originally from Finland. But we had a band. He had a band called the Nymphomaniacs, which I played drums with for a while. And there was Andy and Mike was there singing and playing bass as well, and so on. So me and Andy, we played quite a lot. And then they started out with the Hanoi Rocks, and then of course they had found Jeppe, the original drummer. And exactly right back then, that's when I decided to start singing myself. So then I had my first band, the Brilliant Boys, and we were playing back to back with the Hanoi Rocks back in those days. But yeah, me and Andy had this thing in the beginning, playing, because we were the ones that from the punk rock scene had a little longer hair, looked something in between punks and Rolling Stones in '75 or something like that. So we kind of joined each other to each other, and he was. Back in those days, he was an excellent songwriter. Did really good, this poppy rock things. I thought it was really good.
Okay. Okay. And then, so eventually when you started singing, you formed Easy Action?
Yeah, I had a band before that, but we never made it big or anything like that.
Right.
But
that
then,
was like your big break kind of thing, right? Easy Action.
Yeah, Easy Action was the thing. And so Easy Action and Hanoi Rocks got signed with a guy, the Tandan Records, it's Sanji Tandan, a guy here in Sweden. And he signed Hanoi Rocks and sold Hanoi Rocks to, I think back in those, it was Sony or yeah. And then he signed us, Easy Action, he sold us to Warner. So both Hanoi Rocks and Easy Action got off to a good start. Absolutely.
Yeah. So Easy Action was, if I remember correctly, you were the first Swedish band to sign a worldwide deal, right?
Absolutely. Not even ABBA did that.
Wow. I mean, you must have been like on top of the world.
It was a big thing. It was headlines in the evening papers and everything like that back in Sweden, because it was a very big thing. Absolutely.
And then, so what happened with Easy Action? I mean, why did it not succeed the way you wanted it to? I
think, well, my point of view is that we had it all, to be honest. We got signed to Warner. They put in money in there, and we got signed by Seymour Stein. Seymour Stein is famous for signing Blondie, Talking Heads, the Ramones, and so on. And he signed us, so that was really good. Then we also got interest from Bill O'Coin management. Back in those days, Bill O'Coin had Kiss, and he just broke Billy Idol that came from England, and he took him over to New York. And his Bill O'Coin's vision there was to take Easy Action over to New York. And I was absolutely all up for it, but the rest of the guys weren't. They were a little scared with that. And one of the guys were to become a father for the first time in his life and so on. So they said that, okay, let's stay in Sweden, do another album here and see what happens. And I felt like, well, we got Warner, we have Bill O'Coin.
Yeah.
Why wait? You can't get off on a better start. So I said, no, fuck it. Sorry, my
no worries.
French.
Go ahead.
So I went over to New York. So I said I quit the band, went over to New York, spent 10 months there, and had some help from Billy Idol, because he was there as well. Met up with a couple of people to work with, but to be honest, back in those days, a lot of people had the looks and will to be rock stars, but they didn't really want to go down and really practice. Everyone, I shouldn't say that everyone was a poser, but some of them could actually play, absolutely, but they weren't really committed. So I felt like if this is going to be a good band, I better go back to Sweden where I know people. So that's what I did. So I spent 10 months a year in New York really trying, and I had some people trying out for me and everything like that, but no, didn't really click that much.
So you were pretty picky on what you were looking for. You knew what you wanted.
Yeah, I knew exactly what I wanted. And again, when it comes to Easy Action, we had an excellent guitar player in Key Marcello that later went to Europe. So I knew that I really had to have a guy that really could handle the guitar in a good way, and not to be, kind of sloppy or like that. So I knew what I wanted. So I was kind of picky about that. But then again, for me, more, it was the attitude to because I felt back those days, Americans were really good on stage and everything, much better than Swedes that are more like laid back or, humble. These guys get out and kicked ass, which was really good. But when it came to practice, they weren't that good at that. So and that's the reason for me going back to Sweden.
Yeah. Well, Americans are lazy.
No, I wouldn't say it all, but back in those days, these guys, these rockers, they were more into go out partying and having a good time at the Limelight Club or Danceteria or whatever it was called back in those days.
Yeah. Well, that's what it was about, right? A lot of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you go back to Sweden, and then what happens back in Sweden? Is that when you join up with the guys that were later become Shoygun Messiah, or did it take some time?
Yeah, but it took some time. It took another year, and for that year, I had another band that I was working with called Dream Police, and we do love Trick.
I was to say, you like Cheap Trick.
Yes, we were called Dream Police, but it didn't really hit off. So we played for a year, toured a little bit in Sweden, only in Sweden around that. At the same time, I was looking to see, okay, where do I go next? And all of a sudden, this reporter and journalist, a famous guy in Sweden called Anders Tegner, he had this band that he was about to do a photo session with. And he said, these guys are really something. They had an excellent guitar player, and they're looking for a front man and a singer. And when I asked them what kind of singer they wanted, they said either Zinny Zan or Mike Moreau, because they were really into that. And they said, but both of these guys are gone and taken. And Anders know me, and they said, no, Zinny's not doing anything right now. So they contacted me. So I never heard of this band before, never even met them. They come from a very small town south in Sweden. So I actually took a car and went down there in the studio and spent the weekend with them. And that was it. Then we said, all right, I was blown away, to be honest. The first time I heard the songs, I think there was 3 songs already done then. And those were absolutely brilliant. And this guy could play the guitar like I never heard before.
Yeah.
And I was kind of picky. I played with Key Marcello for some time. So in the studio, one time I asked Harry, is it okay if I go into the same room as you? Because I really need to figure out what the fuck are you doing with the guitar? Because it was absolutely amazing. So for me, it was no doubt. I fell in love with these guys from day one. And obviously they like my style as well. So that's how that started.
Okay. Now, were you guys friends from day one? Like, did you guys get along, or was it more of just a musical connection?
No, I would say we were kind of friends, but it was absolutely musical connection. And at the same time, the thing was, they had already started to recordings, as I said. So they had like 3 songs already done, right? And they had it with an old singer that they used to have. And so they were looking, okay, how would you do this? And how would you sing this? So we started all over again with the song and the vocals and the melodies and so on. So we started working while getting to know each other. Yeah. Because we never known each other. We never met before. So it was good, but at the same time, our friendship was always Shoygun Messiah.
Yeah, the music.
Yeah. It was because we woke up, ate, sleep, and thought Shoygun Messiah all the time. So when it came to recreational stuff and things that's when we maybe learned that we were way different. I'm very outspoken, while Harry is a more thinkable guy, and he needs to have his atmosphere where he can be alone.
Mm-hmm.
I can be as open as anything, and Tim has millions of ideas all the time and so on. And the drummer Sticks, he's funny as hell, and he's 30 seconds from a joke all the time. Which is really good, except for when you're sitting in in meetings and stuff like that. So it was really like a motley crew. It was really 4 different guys, but in a good way, I would say. I think we worked really good together in many ways, and we became friends while not getting to know each other and while breaking the band. Mm-hmm. It's kind of an awkward situation, but then you put these guys out in a tour bus for months in US where we'd never been before or toured. So it was a lot of a different experience, and we got to learn the good and the bad side, because everyone has a good and the bad side, sure. Month 4, when they're going, oh God, does he need to do this every fucking morning? And listen, right. and you don't know each other too well. So of course that friction came later on. It absolutely did. But we had a good laugh and had a good run in the beginning. Yes.
Yeah. Do you remember the first song you guys wrote together?
The first song I wrote together with them from start, that must have been Dirt Talk, I believe. Uh-huh. Because I believe that Harry knew that I'm a huge Aerosmith fan, and he wanted to have that groove kind of. But then I think the absolute first song we worked with together that they had written in the beginning before, but we changed a lot of stuff in it. That was Bob City.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the Bob City riff and everything that was there, but their first singer had a total different melody of it. Mm-hmm. So me and Harry broke that down and said, okay, how would you sing this and how would you do that? So that was the first one we started working with. Mm-hmm. That one and Nervous. And then from the beginning, from the very, very core start, I think that was Dirt Talk.
Okay. So you guys were in Sweden. Did you plan on coming to the US right away? Is that something you wanted to do?
Absolutely.
And that's something they wanted to do as well?
Oh yeah. We were, I think both they and myself, we were very determined what we wanted to do, because when I spoke to them, they have never done an album before. Mm-hmm. I had done albums, I had done tours and this and that, and they knew that I've been in New York, in America, and so on. So they asked me about stuff, and I said that, well, it's absolutely a great learning, and it's a great audience in Sweden. That would be the easiest thing to do. But then again, I toured that many times, mm-hmm. and I thought that this is just as good as any American band ever. So listen to the new bands from the US. Why don't we go there? And they said, well, hey, Zinny, if you have the contacts and everything, let's do that. And I said, I believe that I do have the contacts. So give me 2 weeks. I go over to LA, and that's what I did. So yeah, we were very determined. And the thing was that the record company we had in Sweden at that time, they were really happy because they had this management that had put up 75 gigs for us in Sweden to tour with, and we turned it down. No. They were not very happy at all. No. But I said, we've done that routine before, and we're gonna go to the US. That's where it happens. Mm-hmm. And back in those days, and most if you go back in time, the US, that's where you break. That's where you break a band. Mm-hmm. Except for maybe late 60s and early 70s when Jimi Hendrix and the other one went to London to become stars before they went to the US. Otherwise, the US market has been the leading one. And I thought, like, why stay way up north in a small country in Sweden? Who's going to hear about us here? So it was a decision we all made together. Yeah.
Did you move over? You guys come over on your own, or did a label help you? How'd you get over here?
Yeah, the label Relativity Records helped us, and that was in the contract as well, and that's why we choose to go for them. We said that if you want to sign us, get us over there, get us the H1 visas so you can work there and so on, because otherwise, what we heard, and I do understand that, but most record companies said, well, get over here, we arrange that you can tour for a month, then you go back to Sweden, we wait and see what happens. And I go like, hey, if I'm going to compete, but back then it was like Skid Row, Warrant, Faster Pussycat, LA Guns, and all these guys came up, these new bands. these guys can play every weekend or every week, everywhere. And I should go there for a month and then go back to Sweden and wait and see, then you don't compete on the same terms. So we said, no, we need to go over to the US and put us in a van. We play anywhere.
Because you guys weren't waiting for anything.
No, exactly. And again, we were damn sure. We thought we had good songs. And we said, hey, just put us out there. All we want to do is play. And that's what they did. And we started out, there was a hole in the wall when we started out. But then, of course, it grew. And it became bigger and bigger, places to play. So the proof was in the pudding. We had right from the beginning. So
you came over to LA, not New York this time. Okay. What was the first place you guys played over here? Was it a big show or just
the first place we played was actually the Palace in Hollywood.
Okay.
It's between Hollywood and Vine. Pretty big place. We played there together with, I think Gene Simmons tried to break a band that he was very interested in called House of Lords.
Yep, I remember them.
Yeah, so I think House of Lords and Austin, Shoygun Messiah. We played. So the first gig we played was the Palace. And then on tour, the first gig was in Dallas, Texas.
Okay.
Yeah.
What go ahead.
Yeah, but that was cool. It was a dance hall, this big dance hall thing in Dallas, Texas. And I think the whole band was just looking at, and we saw these cowboy guys, and we're like, wow, this is gonna clash. This is gonna collide.
What year was this? 89?
But it was a fantastic show. I think ever since that day, Dallas, Texas, and around there, Houston and Austin and everything that they got to love Shoygun Messiah because we played quite a lot in Texas. We did.
The Cowboys liked you.
Yeah, absolutely. and we thought it would be the contrary. We going out there with the makeup and scarves and all that shit. They're gonna go fucking crazy.
Yeah. Well, what year was this? 89?
89.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So that was around the time, like you said, LA Guns was already on the scene at that time, I believe.
Yeah, LA Guns was already on the scene.
But you had
and
bands
I knew Kelly Nichols before because he tried out for me in New York because he's from Long Island in the beginning.
Oh, okay.
So the original bass player there, Kelly Nichols, me and him go way back. And same with a couple of the guys from a band called Jet Boy. I don't know if you remember them.
Oh yeah.
Feel the Shake was there. Yeah. So these guys, and some of them come from New York as well. So yeah, but you had Skid Row, you had Warrant, I believe you had Danger. And
might have been that time. Bang Tango came out around that time.
Extreme came out at the same time as well with Pornography.
Yeah.
That album.
How did your peers take you guys coming over from Sweden?
Well, in the beginning, in the Hollywood scene, it was not, everyone was like looking at you and were like, okay, these guys comes from another country. They have it all fixed. They have it all figured out. They have record copies. These guys were handing out flyers, trying to make ends meet. And here comes these flamboyant guys from Sweden, and they had it all. So in the beginning, before they got to know us, they were like, "What's this? Go back to your country, do your shit. You haven't worked from day one here. Working up and down the strip with your flyers and this and that." So we came in, flying in like, "All right, here, where's the oysters?" But it wasn't really like that. But that's what they thought in the beginning. But the musicians that already made it, like the people from Faster Pussycats and all these guys that you met, and even the guys from Guns N' Roses. I met Izzy long before in New York as well. They were absolutely all okay and nice. Same with Kelly Nichols that I know since before, Billy Idol, and the guys from Warrant and so on. Yeah, but they were absolutely really nice.
Good. So your album comes out, and did you guys get on a major tour?
No, in the beginning, what they did was they put us out with Pretty Boy Floyd. That was also a band, an LA band that just got signed.
Yeah.
So they said that wherever Shoygun Messiah sells the most records, we will headline. Wherever Pretty Boy Floyd sells the most records in these towns, they're gonna headline. So that's what we did. But then I thought we took off a little bit more than Pretty Boy Floyd, and then they took Pretty Boy Floyd off the road. And then we continued to tour with another Gene Simmons band called EZO.
Yeah, I love that band.
Japanese guys. the funny thing was when you wanted to go, you wanted to greet them and meet them and say hi, it's going to be really nice to go out tour with you guys and so on. They go like, no, you can't speak to them. And I go, why? Because they don't know a word English. And I go like, hey, he's singing in English. Yeah, but it's all, he had learned how, the font, how to pronounce it. He didn't have an idea what he was singing about.
Man.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
So back in those days, in '89 at least, they didn't know one word of English. So these lyrics, he had been taught how to pronounce them, and he sang them, but he didn't have a clue what he was singing about.
That's interesting.
Kind of funny, but these were really cool guys, and they did really good shows. I liked them quite a lot.
Yeah.
Yes, we played with them for a while, and then it was supposed to be the next thing that came up was. Billy Idol just did Charmed Life, that album, with LA Woman and, Cradle of Love and so on. So he was about to go on tour, and he was about to take Alice Cooper with him that just released the Trash album,
right?
Where he had Joe Perry and Bon Jovi and all these guys helping him out. So it was supposed to be Billy Idol headlining, Alice Cooper with the Trash, and then Shoygun Messiah. But then this fine gentleman from England, Billy Idol, chose to drive his Harley home one late early morning from the studio. And he crashed.
Yeah.
And he hurt his leg quite bad. And so that tour was canceled. And when Alice was going out, then he thought that, well, then I'll go out on my own or with someone else. But he thought Shoygun Messiah would be too small. So he took in bad English, I believe. So we were, and so then we were off, and then we went on tour by ourselves, doing clubs and some dance halls and so on. And that's when we were up in Saratoga Springs, and our drummer decided to go for skiing and having Jägermeister at the same time.
Oh, geez, doesn't sound good.
So he broke his arm. And the tour was off. We tried to get a drummer in, so we actually called. Back in those days, it was. I think Matt Sorum was drumming for The Cult. And The Cult had just canceled their tour due to the fact that their bass player got arrested or something like that. So we called Matt Sorum up and said, could you do the tour with us? And he said, absolutely, I like you guys, I can do that. But unfortunately, the pay he wanted was like kind of the pay that we got from the whole band. So,
oh, geez.
Yeah, so it didn't really work out that way. So we went back. We went back to Hollywood after that, and that was it. That was February, March, 1990, something like that. And then we were about to start writing songs and this and that. But then it came about that it didn't really work the way it should, and there was unhappiness in the band with me. I was unhappy with certain people in the band and so on. We were 25, 26 years old. We all had egos and this and that. And, so then I said, okay, then I leave. No problem.
So you voluntarily left? Or
it was a discussion because they weren't really happy with me either. They thought that I believe that they thought that my life, at least that they said that my lifestyle was like there was too much partying. I love to have a good time, absolutely, but you were a partier. Yeah, absolutely. I party quite a lot. Yeah, absolutely, no doubt about that.
Well, again, that's what you did back then, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I have a strong line with work ethics and partying. I know when to party and have a good time. I know when it's work ethics and so on. So I thought it was kind of harsh, but then again, we were coming from different places. And as I said, we were different kind of people. Some of the guys just like to take it very, very easy and are very, very serious with things like that. Nothing wrong with that, but we were different. And they thought like, well, can Zinny really do this? Is he really into this? Or is he just wanting to party or whatever? And they thought I was very, very outspoken and so on. So it was different kind of things. And so they weren't too happy with me. And I weren't too happy with certain things in the band either. So it all came about. And I said, once we were sitting at the house talking about it. And then I said, okay, then we split. Nothing to do about that. The record company really tried. They had me out for dinner like 4 times and said like, hey, you got to go in there. You got to talk to them. And I don't know if you call that a quitter or not, but I always been in a belief all my life, even if it's with jobs or with bands or with girlfriends or whatever, I will never try to convince someone to stay or take me back. Where, you know, if people make the decision, the only thing I will ask is that, have you really thought about this? Is this your decision? And
Right.
if there is a decision, then I'm okay with it because it's your decision. I will not try to hammer you with, well, I can do this, I can do that, I can be, you know, if this is a decision that you have made, I do hope that you have really thought about it, and then
Right.
it's fine.
Yeah, I was going to ask if that was an abrupt decision or is it something you thought about before actually doing it?
Yeah, when it came to the record company dinners and so on, and the lunches that we had a few, I said again, no matter what I might say, you know, I have spoken, and again, the record company knew, because every time there was serious stuff, they always took me in, because I can't speak for myself, I can't speak for the band. You know, I didn't have certain agendas or anything, and so I was the one that the record company usually talked to, because I'm level-headed. But again, I was out partying quite a lot, absolutely.
Sure, why not?
But when we had that, I said, you know, no matter how I feel about it, you know, we came here, we started a platform, and I said I absolutely wanted to do a second album, and then people can do whatever, because we just built the platform for it. But then again, I said these guys obviously don't want me in the band, or some of them, and so this doesn't really matter what I say. And if this is the decision, it's the decision. And how should we work when we have that? It's impossible. You can't really work that way. And you know, for the both of us, or for Shoygun Messiah, for Tim and Harry and Styx in the beginning, I think it was, you know, it was a good thing for them, because they did a really good second album. Second Coming was a fantastic album, I feel. So I came out of the short end, I would say, because I went back to Sweden and I had to start all over again and so on. And so I was the one that took the downfalls, kind of thing. You know, they were happy about it. They were still in the US, and they did a fantastic second album. But then again, everyone was telling me later on, I said, well, as soon as you left the band, it went downhill. Well, the sales went downhill, but people loved the second album. And the fact that it didn't do as well as the first album, I would probably say it's more like due to the fact of Nirvana and
yeah, I was going to say the landscape changed at that time.
The grunge was hitting. The grunge was coming hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
do you think
it was infected when I left the band from the beginning, but now, you know, I still talk. Me and Harry talk. Me and Styx talk, and we even played together a few times, because he's back in Sweden as well. So yeah, so it worked out. But yeah.
Do you think if Billy didn't get in that accident, your path would have been different with the band?
Hard to say, to be honest. You know, it's fun to say, because when I'm writing the book, I come to certain parts somewhere and I go like, if we had made that decision, what would have happened? But I do guess that we were who we were anyways. And the good thing, the good and the bad thing with Shoygun Messiah, I would say, is that these four guys, Tim, Harry, and myself and Styx, all four of us were people that we would never, ever back down. Good in a certain way when it works, because we were a fantastic force when it worked, and that's what people loved about it. They said, "But there's no limits for Shoygun Messiah. They can do whatever," and we really did that. But at the same time, when it comes to compromising, it was kind of hard in that band. So I don't know if that Billy Idol thing would have made it. You know, it would have made us a more household name, absolutely, but. Inevitably, I think that would still have happened down the line somewhere anyway, because again, Tim is driven and he wants to do his thing, and I can never see him being happy with being the bass player in the band, because he needs his attention, and he's a fine artist. So yeah, I do believe the outcome would have been the same. We might have been more household name with that tour, absolutely, but that's about it, I would say.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I never got to see you guys live, because I mean, you didn't come around that much where I was at, from what I remember anyway, because I used to go to every show back in the day. But
you did, but where were you living at that time?
I was down in Florida.
No, Florida. That's absolutely. You're absolutely right. We never played Florida.
Yeah. Why?
It's when you say it's kind of strange because we asked that. We asked them because we always did California, we did Texas, we did upstate New York, Chicago, Cincinnati, Detroit, and all those places, Washington, and so on. But we never did Florida. And the reason we heard that there's that kind of music is not really big down in Florida. But then I saw you had band like Rocks Gang.
Rocks Gang came from Tampa. That's where I lived.
Yeah, they did, right? And I said, how about these guys? Because, I was reading all these magazines, of course, when I came to the US, because I wanted to understand the market and what's out there, what's our competition, so what will be our colleagues and so on. And so I knew Rocks Gang and a few others. And I was kind of surprised because we never ever played one single show in Florida. We didn't. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing because we had all the bands came through there, and I remember there used to be a club called the Rocket Club that was real popular down in Tampa. And the Bang Tangos and they would all those bands would sell out the club.
And that's funny as well because the Bang Tango and ourselves we had the same business lawyers, so we got to meet quite often. And as you say, Bantango was down there, but for some reason we were told that no, Florida's not the thing for you guys. They're not into that kind of music down there. And I was surprised because I saw these pictures of Rocks Gang and other bands, and I was like, okay, why?
Well, someone lied to you because from what I saw, all the Tricksters and the Dangerous Toys, they all very well down there.
Yeah.
But anyway, so all right, so you leave, and then what was your plan? Did you have a plan, or were you just kind of out there?
I didn't really have a plan when I left. I left back to Sweden, and I saw that okay, how long the money I've earned, how long is that going to last? Because to see how much time do I got before I need to take a regular job or whatever, or can I start with an album? And I think that was kind of a mistake from my end because I was feeling more of a pressure. First, of course, the loss of Shoygun Messiah because we worked really hard for that one. Yeah. And then going back to Sweden again, starting all over again, it was kind of hard. It hit me quite hard. And at the same time, I had health problems. I had some problems with my body, so I was lying in hospital for 2 or 3 months.
Oh, geez.
But after that, then I wanted to do an album so bad that I thought that I was. That wasn't the best. It wasn't the best decision. I should have taken my time. But anyways, I released that SandClan album in 1994 in the middle of the grunge thing, and I thought that maybe my sister and my brother bought that album. But after that one, I thought that okay, let's see what I can do then. And so I wrote music, but then I was starting, looking for other things in life. And I said, okay, maybe I play, but right now the grunge thing is there. I have nothing to do there. And, even if I want to play music, I don't want to go into something that I don't really believe in. I like a lot of the grunge musicians and songs, but it's nothing that I can write. Yeah, it's nothing that comes from my heart. So I felt like, I want to be dead honest with one thing, and that's with my music. So I thought that, well, either I write this out or I will just make songs at home. But then I met my girlfriend, and then I thought, okay, I love kids, and I thought, well, maybe it's time. So that's what my decision was. And once my first child, Jasmine, came, and I thought, okay, she's going to really have a really nice upgrowing and so on and so forth. So we moved out to the sticks, really on the countryside, and lived there for 5 years. And then all of a sudden they called there was a guy in the US, in Texas, of course.
Texas loves you.
They say, hey, Zinny, I just found you, and, here and there. It was some kind of MySpace or something like that.
Yeah, remember that?
Yeah. And he said, what are you doing now? Are you writing songs? I said, yeah, I'm still writing songs, but, the scene is not for me anymore. It's something else. And he said, oh, can I have a listen? So I sent some over, and I said, well, do an album. So that's what I did, my first Zinny Zan album. And from then on, then people started talking. Then they got back to SandClan again, but together with this guy, Chris Laney. So then it's all start rolling again. And then we go so I talked to my fiance, and I said, well, what do you say? I want to go. I want to give it another try.
Uh-oh.
Yeah,
Back over.
Yeah, and she had lived with me for so many years. She said, "I know that you love this. Go do your shit.
Yeah.
I'll be here." So, and then it just rolled on. So we did this SoundCloud that I said, and with these guys, we opened up with Queensryche. We did a smaller tour thing with Whitesnake.
Mm-hmm.
It was absolutely fantastic. Really, really good times. And this now we're talking 2004-ish to 2005 and so on. Same with the Queensryche guys. Really, we thought this will be a weird mix in the beginning, but it was absolutely, we clicked like that. Really nice guys and everything. And then we did something more. We did Twisted Sister as well with Dee Snider and the guys. So we did a small tour with them as well. So, it went on and on like that. So that's what we've been doing. And then of course, then we have this, I don't know if you heard about that, but in Europe, one of the biggest festivals we have is called Sweden Rock.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The Sweden Rock Festival. It's all good. Everyone's been there. Everyone from Aerosmith, Motley Crue, the Rat, and all these guys. So we played there a couple of times. It's good. It's a good show. It's a good amount of people and so on. So been hanging in there back and forth, so to speak.
Oh, that's good. I mean, it sounds like you're doing what you love to do, and that's making music. And
but it is. We were talking about that again, coming back to the autobiography. When you sit and I got my first record deal when I was 17. I'm 58. I'm still doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Never got to be a millionaire or anything, but that was never. Of course, that would have been nice, but that was never the purpose. That was never the point. The point was that you want to express and maybe give someone else the feeling that you got when you heard your first Aerosmith album or Led Zeppelin or Black Sabbath or wherever, Deep Purple, whatever you were into. Mm-hmm. And that music gave me so much, and still during my entire adult life, I would say the same thing. And people say, but the amount of time you spend. Yeah, and I said it's well spent, because otherwise I would say, let's leave it. Yeah. But for me, it's like without music, I would probably die, because it's I live music all the time, and it could be anything. Here at home, during daytime when we do stuff here, we listen to classic music. My son is 12 years old. He knows all the Bach and Mozarts and all that. Because I thought I love that kind of music as well. I'm sometimes in an evening with drinking some wine or whatever, just relaxing. I love to put on Fleetwood Mac,
love Fleetwood Mac.
And sometimes when I really like it, I put on Rage Against the Machine. So it's it all depends. And that's the cool thing about music. Yeah, your mood and how you feel about it. So and it's good. It's a very good way of expressing yourself.
Speaking of Rage Against the Machine, you guys on the first record had that song, I think it was Shout It Out. That was kind of a rap. That was like one of the earlier rap rock things, I believe.
Absolutely. It absolutely was. You're absolutely right about that one.
Yeah. And
we were very early with that.
Yeah. Was that, I mean, how did you feel about that? Because you don't have a lot of vocal parts in that, correct? Just the chorus mainly?
Yeah, exactly. And the way it came about was that Tim and Harry had that idea from the very beginning. So they had their part, and since the lyrics were about both Harry and Tim, and then Harry screaming guitar and Tim's bumping bass and so on. So it was kind of natural that they would sing and do the rapping. And again, I was never a good rapper anyway. So I said, I leave that to you guys and I do my screaming. Yeah. And I know that everyone was kind of surprised, because that was our first single out with Shoygun Messiah. And I go like, it's weird when you have the front man singing only the choruses and nothing else. And yeah, it was kind of corny, but then again, we said that this really stood out, and it did. It really stood out as a song back in those days, because, as you said, we were quite early with it. Mm-hmm. And to be honest, I didn't know that back then. But I had a girl that I met in Hollywood. She was kind of known, but I will not mention her name. But she once asked me, she said, I played this for a friend of mine. He's called Rick, and he is becoming a producer. He really likes your band, and he's interested in meeting you and so on. And this Rick, he was very much into rap. And I really wasn't, but I thought Shut It Out was an absolutely cool song. This turns out to be Rick Rubin.
That's what I thought when you said that.
and I said, well, tell him hi. It would be nice to meet sometime. I never did. Yeah, that's the way. But as you said, and Rick Rubin was very much into that as well, because he really wanted to pair the rap with the rocker thing, as he did with the Aerosmith stuff later on around the MC and so on.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's fun. So, a song like that, though, I got to ask, though, when you're playing that live, I mean, is that a little awkward? Are you out there on stage during the verses? And
yeah.
Just standing there?
Yeah, it is kind of awkward, yes. Yeah. But, you have to be in the back, you can have a laugh with the drummer and they can go on, and then you just turn your back again and do the. But exactly as you say, how it's the same when we were supposed to do with the video. The video we did also, we were quite early with stuff like that. Like I said, Rick Rubin was interested. I didn't know who Rick was back in those days. Yeah. Same thing. The woman that did the Shut It Out video, that was Penelope Spears.
Oh, great. Okay.
Yeah. And we came about her name just due to the fact of the decline of the Western civilization.
Right.
Yeah. And later on, she did a lot of stuff, movies and so on with Wayne's World and those guys, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so Penelope Spears, and I was asking, like, what the am I supposed to do in this video?
Why am I even here?
Well, yeah. So yeah, I'm there dancing around with my leather jacket, and then and I have a scream here and there. But as you said, it live sometimes was kind of walking. Sometimes I just walk off stage and I had a cold beer or whatever, came in for the choruses and out again. But it is kind of awkward, yeah.
Yeah. I got to ask, and I know you've been asked a lot, I'm sure, but the relationship between you and Tim. Do you ever see that fixing itself?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay.
I have absolutely nothing against him whatsoever. I for some reason he has with me, and I don't know why. We had a difference, but we had a lot of fun together as well. So I really don't know what the deal is regarding that, because we were kind of close. Could we be different with things? Absolutely. Did we have arguments? Yes. When there were arguments, it was usually between me and Tim. That's absolutely true. But at the same time, we had a lot of fun as well. And I don't really know what it is, but he has some kind of grudge with me. And I thought, like, hey, there was that. We haven't spoken since 1990. I think it was fantastic when he did the thing with Marilyn Manson. It was a really good run for him, both as a producer and as a musician and everything like that. And so I was not maybe too keen with that other stuff he did, but the Marilyn Manson things and some of his Skull things that he's done was really good. Mm-hmm. And I always praised him for that. And then we weren't the closest of friends, but we have a past together and now again, then I know that he's not looking at the past ever. Right. He just goes on and on and on. And that's probably why he state things that he does, People have come to me and said, well, he said, but Dave, when hell freezes over, he will never ever work with you again. And that may be so, and that's okay. So no, I don't really, to be honest, I don't really know what the deal is. I have no problem with him whatsoever, and I wish him all the best. Sure.
I mean, that's. I mean, hopefully one day you guys can, talk again. I mean, I'd love to see you guys play. Like I said, I never have. And nowadays with all these festivals, I'm sure there's a lot of opportunity out there for you guys if you did, reconcile.
Yeah, the thing was that we had that chance a few years back, and we were in talks. I can say that. So it seemed like pretty close for a while. And but then from what I heard, I was not talking to Tim, as I said, but since Harry and Tim is very close to each other, of course, and me and Harry have recently, some years back, begin to talk again, and seeing how things are and this and that, what you're doing, and how's your health and what's you doing now and so on. So it came about because they were asking here in the European festivals. They were asking, and there was absolutely people wanted it to happen, and we were in talks with it, and I came up with the idea first, or I outed the idea, and I said, why don't we do it like I can be up there the first 20 or 30 minutes doing stuff from the first album, and then I walk off stage and you do the rest, because they have 2 other albums to make. But whatever they want to play, if they want to play from the Second Coming and the Violent New Breed or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And that seemed like a good idea. First, it seems like it fell down very well. And so what I did, actually, I contacted several festivals, and they wanted to sign us, and they wanted to have us.
Sure.
And so I told everyone, this is what we have, and the payment, the pay and everything was good. There was one thing though, it was that because we have to take Tim and Harry over from the US to Europe, there will be days to kill, right? Because all the festivals is not back to back. So it will be 10 days here and 10 days there. So they understood, okay, we need to be in Europe quite a long time for maybe 6 or 7 festivals. And I know that was something that they, understandable. What should we be gone 2 months for like 7, or if we go back and forth, that would cost them quite a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And is it worth it, and so on. So that was one of the reasons why it never happened. And then the management for Tim came back and said that there will be no way that they can let me sing like for half an hour and do the first album, but I could come up as a guest doing 2 songs. And then I thought, like, well, that's if we sell it like the Shoygun Messiah original, and I only do 2 songs, that's not really fair. And I said, I don't want to be a guest artist with a band that I was the original singer from. So either I do 6 or 7 songs at least, and then they move on, because they have a career after I left, so they can do that. But so it fell apart. But it was pretty close. We thought, and I know that Harry was working up and said, I want to work up my chops here because they sold us and so on. But that's what he's saying. He can pull that off in a minute.
He had some chops.
Oh yeah. That guy. But I said, I'm really practicing now because I have to do this again. And then I said, well, you can do that in a heartbeat. Yeah. So it was really about it. But then for some reason, and that's what I heard, that was the management decision, the team's management decision, they said.
That's too bad. I mean, like I said,
and me and Harry said also that it would have been fun. It would have been absolutely fun to do it. But we said that, okay, this was probably it. That was the train. And now it left the station because, again, the stuff he does, how long can you do that?
Yeah.
Well, we're not getting any younger, and it's the same for me with the voice. I can still do the high pitches with the Shoygun Messiah songs and so on, but for how long, I don't know. Maybe in half a year it might be gone. I don't know.
Yeah. Well,
I'm lucky enough to pull it off right now, and sometimes I'm pretty surprised about it. But things change when you get older. That's for sure.
Sure. And like you said, none of us are getting any younger, as you can see with my hair here. It's so who knows? Maybe it'll happen, maybe it won't. But like I said, I hope it does. I hope it does.
Yeah, I can say that I heard the rumor that Tim and Harry are working on some Shoygun Messiah stuff, and that would be really interesting. I would say for the Shoygun Messiah supporters. Because I do believe that, again, Harry never tells anything. Harry is the cool guy. Not too much here and there and so on. And since I don't speak to Tim, but I'm pretty sure that sometime during the 2022, you might get something from these guys under the name Shoygun Messiah, and that would be very interesting.
Yeah, we'll see. So tell me a little bit about your book. I mean, you touched on that here and there through this conversation, but tell me, when are we expecting this?
Well,
or is it just a work in progress?
Yeah, it's been work in progress for a long time, to be honest. Yeah. I was asked a few years back, and I said yes, and I started it because I had this book management that said, okay, we want to do it, and I started it. But then I had some members that I played with before in certain bands. And then 2 rock journalists that has been very close to me. They called me up and say, "Hey, Zinny," because they know if I'm going to write a book, I'm going to be dead honest.
Sure, why
because
not?
otherwise there's no meaning. I don't want to put in so we overdosed here, overdosed there. You know, things that if that happens, it happens, and I will talk about it.
Yeah.
But I will tell the truth. The way I saw it, of course, but the truth is, of course, different between where you stand and who you are and how you look at it. But from my point of view, the truth that I saw in my life and what I did, and they were quite shocked. And I said, Zinny, we know that you are so open. You will tell stuff that this is not cool. You know, I have family now and I live a different life now and so on and so forth. And I said, so do I. But then again, the book is not about you. It's about me.
Right.
But I'm associated with you. And I said, yeah, well, I will never write your name or it. Yeah, but they know that I play with it. You know that. And then I thought for a while, because I had 4 people saying this, and those were kind of close to me anyways. And so I thought that, well, you know, I don't want to ruin the friendship, you know, just for a book. So I said, okay, I skip it. So I said, okay, I will not do the book. 2 years later, one of the guys released a book.
That's why he didn't want you to do it.
Well, you told me not to do it. You never told me that you wrote a book until a few weeks before it was supposed to be released. Then someone from your booking was saying, can you give us some stories? And I go, no, hell no. If he doesn't remember them, and those are my stories, because there was stuff that I did that were kind of funny and goofy back in those days. And I said, no, those things that you don't touch, because I'm going to have an, and he never called me about this book. So I gave him a ring and I said, well, it goes both ways. You know, I would never say that don't write this book, but you know, when you do now, it would be good to have a heads up and say, well, I'm releasing my truth now, or my autobiography, and you know, you're in it. So, you know, beware of that. So, you know, what's going to happen. Nothing. And then I thought, if they can do it like that, then so can I. But so I'm writing it now, and as I said I'm gonna finish it, because I put it aside, and I said, well, who's gonna listen to, who's gonna want to read about this anyways, and why should I put out myself like that? You know, it's always go back and forth with that, because I am a private person. At the same time, I'm very open, so I'm back and forth. The only thing I've been very otherwise for me is said yes or no. It's always like that. But with this book, it has been, so now I've told myself, and I told to the book guys, that I will write and finish it. Then I see if it's going to be for my kids, so they get to know what the hell their father did before they came about. Yeah. And or if I will release it. But I think, I should release it. You know, there's no crazy stuff like that I will not go to jail.
Right.
Anything. Right. But it is a very good story, because there are, it all depends on what you are focusing on. But a lot of these autobiographies, of course, has been regarding drugs and people that have lost lives and so on, which is very tragic and everything like that, and people's alcoholism or heroin use or whatever, and stuff like that. Yeah, you should write about it, but I don't want to sell a book like that. Because there's other things that I feel things like that, of course, will be in the book if there is something that happened in my life. But I would see it on there's so many things in the music industry for these people that you meet sometimes. It's absolutely crazy.
Well, the time you lived, you know, we're in the industry.
Thank you.
Heavily, that's a time that's never going to happen again.
Exactly, and that's what I know when I first talked to the publisher, and they go like, well, this book has to be real, because I said I don't want to have the drunk and party thing book, because I want to put it in a context that people understand what was happening back from the punk rock and when the hard rock was beginning and everything like that in the 80s in the US, and the Sunset Strip thing and everything around that. You know, that is something that will never happen again. And you should put it in a context what was happening back then and all those things. And that's what I wanted to do, because I wanted to be something so people can understand, okay, so this was the 80s, both in music and film in the US or wherever, and okay, this is what was happening. And because for me it was very surreal when I came, for example, when I came to live in Hollywood. I'm back in 1989. I knew exactly how much Sylvester Stallone was making from Rambo or whatever, or Rocky. I knew exactly how much Arnold Schwarzenegger was going to get for his I'll Be Back movies and
Terminators.
Yeah, exactly. And by the way, when I was looking at television, there was a wall somewhere in Europe that was taken down. That was the Berlin Wall.
Yeah.
and that was the focus. The focus was all these stars and mega stars doing this. And then, by the way, there's a wall somewhere in Europe that's down. So you know, everything, Hollywood and Los Angeles back in those days, it was absolutely a bubble. You were living in this small bubble, and you knew about the music scene and everything like that, and what Madonna was doing or whatever, and all the, when you had dinners with the journalists or record executives or whatever, they were talking about Freddie Mercury. We were talking about who's going to come out first, Freddie Mercury or Rob Halford, because everyone knew back then, and so on. But no one said anything, but everyone knew. It was a different era of everything. And the same if we come to the drug things and stuff like that, all these executives and all these people around it, you know, they can tell, you can say it now, everyone had it, and everyone, you know, I thought it was a trick thing. You sign something, and then all of a sudden these things come up and say, wow, this is really good. And I go, no, thank you, I just do alcohol. And they're looking at me like, you stupid foreigner, you don't understand. So it was absolutely crazy, but it was absolutely legal. It was cool. Everyone was doing it.
Yeah. And, I'm excited to hear that you're doing that, because I love reading the books, you know, all the autobiographies from everybody.
So do I. Yeah. And it's always cool to see the different perspectives, you know.
Yeah.
And when people are writing, like for say Duff McKagan versus the Slash, and Joe Perry versus Steven Tyler or whatever. Right. You know, they have different kind of views of it, and of course they're speaking their truth, what they saw, what they felt, and you know. Yeah.
Well, I have a ton of them, and I'll definitely add yours to it once that gets out there. But yeah.
Thank you.
Do you keep anything around from your Shoygun Messiah days? Like, do you keep magazines and records and posters?
I had a fantastic mother, because she's always been supportive, and she actually I flew her out for the first Palace gig we did with Shoygun Messiah. So she'd never been to America before, so I flew her out, and she's always been very supportive. She had every clip I ever had in any magazine, with Easy Action, Shoygun Messiah. Yeah. And the only reason why I still also have the cassette you showed was due to the fact that my mother, every time I had a release with anything, she said, you had at least to give me one copy each of everything, because I know how you are. You will always, you would give them away because you feel like people should have them, and then you have nothing by yourself.
Yeah.
And that's true. So when my mother passed away, when I saw these things, it was like, for me, it was my entire life. I was just reading this and seeing, and then, wow, here's the cassette. Wow, here's the poster for Shoygun Messiah that I thought I never had. And wow, here's a T-shirt. And it was, for me, it was like digging in gold. It was really fun. Otherwise, I wouldn't have had anything.
Oh man, how old are your kids?
22 and 12.
Okay,
so 10 years between them.
So they're aware of your past.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do they get a kick out of looking at that stuff?
My daughter, absolutely. My daughter is 22. You know, she was hanging out with Queensryche. They wanted to take her on tour, and she and everything. So she's been around all the time with me. She's really daddy's little girl. So and she kind of loved this kind of music as well. So she's very, very aware of it. And you know, she comes to my concerts and this and that. My son knows about it, and I see that now when we made a video here in this with the Heartbreak City and everything. I know, you know, he's getting a little bit not embarrassed, but it's like, wow, cool, my dad is on TV, and you know, my dad is on the radio now. But it never, you know, he's more like a hip hop guy.
Oh, is he?
So he's like, Dad, well, your music is so, but I think you're cool because we're playing all the time here, and he's into drums. We have drums here at the house as well. So sometimes he sit by the drums while I'm making up chords on the guitar, and I said, well, have this beat because I have to have this.
Okay.
So yeah, they're not ashamed of me, but my son think it's kind of funny because his school friends are saying like, well, your dad is on TV, or your dad has been there, and so on. But my daughter was really into it, and she's with every concert, and she's really bummed out when I say she can't go, because sometimes I say, no, you've seen enough, because I want to be afraid. I want to be alone this time.
Yeah.
But they're very cool with it, and they know that they have a dad that doesn't look the same as their other dads on the football coaches and all these guys and so on. But
they're
very cool with it, and even so, when we're out during the summers and so on, people stop you, and you know, you're having lunch, people come for autographs and stuff like that. They were very cool about it. They never get annoyed or anything like that. They think it's cool, or most of the time they think my son is making fun of him. He's like, Dad, don't they have other, people to, you're 58 for God's sake. And I go, shut up. You never get ice cream again.
Do they make fun of you had some major hair standing up back in the day.
Oh yeah.
They ever laugh at those pictures?
No, actually, I'm kind of surprised. Both my kids think it's so cool.
Yeah.
And that surprises me, because people still make fun of that, because I don't have the biggest hair as I used to have, but I still have the same kind of style. I'm just a lot older.
Yeah, there's some photos though of you with that hair up there. I don't know how many cans of Aquanet it took, but you had it up there.
Yeah, I'm the one to blame for the ozone layer.
That's funny. All right, man. Well, listen, I appreciate you taking time to chat. Looking forward to the record coming out.
It was an absolute pleasure, Joe, as well. Really nice to talk to you. And as soon as I get things out here, I will see to it that you have it first. So
I appreciate it.
So yeah, but now we have our email addresses and everything. I will send you out some stuff as well, and you just give me your address and stuff like that. I will send it out to you.
Awesome,
and
man.
Maybe if I see something with Shoygun Messiah that I know you don't have, maybe I can send something for you as well.
That'd be fantastic. That'd be amazing. All right, Zinny. Well, listen, when that album comes out, maybe we'll get you back on here too. Okay, we'll talk about the full album.
Anytime, Joe. It's a pleasure.
All right, buddy. I will see you later. You have a great day, sir.
The very same to you. Have a nice weekend. Talk to you soon.
Man. Bye.
Bye-bye.